I've got a DS1515 Plus Synology disk station, and let's get some unboxing. So let's see, all the usual stuff: power cord, LAN cable ×2, screws if you're going to use an SSD or a 2.5-inch drive, and the keys to lock and unlock the base of Synology so the disks automatically or accidentally do not get ejected. Goes to the side. Here's the main unit. Not very big, not very heavy, until we put some disks in it. We've got a welcome package, probably 15 different languages, and the main event right here. Now, why did I purchase this Synology DS1515 Plus? The main reason is I've been using Box to back up our business server to make sure that all of our guys in the field have access to all of the documents. Well, after 3 years of paying for Box, which was about $540 a year, I decided that I can spend the same amount of money to purchase this Synology box, about $1,500, $1,700 maybe, and this will give me a lot more flexibility, and it will still allow guys to access every single document, image, proposal, PDF, plans, specs, anything they need. They'll be able to access it in the field from their iPhones and iPads. Any file located on Synology, they will be able to access, and everything that I have on the server will get backed up to Synology. Synology will be set up to back itself up, so I will have almost a triple backup, and yet use this as our own, very own private cloud, if you will. Today we're going to do a couple of things to this file server box. By the way, not sure what the keys. So the key that I was talking to you about, this key right here, goes inside like this somehow. Oh, there we go, sideways. And so you lock, okay, and no one is going to be able to pop the drive out, okay, because it's just going to be locked. So that's a really nice feature that I like on Synology. What we're going to do is, I did purchase 5 6 terabyte drives for it, and I also purchased the memory module, a 4 gigabyte memory module, DDR3 1600. So we're going to take this box that comes with 2 gigabytes of RAM from the factory and increase it to 6 gigabytes of RAM, and we will be installing these DeskStar NAS hard drives into this system. So to open up this NAS, you've got several screws back here, and all we got to do is obviously take them out. There we go. There we go. So to install memory on this guy is super easy. You just pop the top like I did. Don't forget to take all 5 screws out, and you have this slot here, and that's where the module is going. And easy enough, you've upgraded your NAS to its maximum possible RAM capacity. Have to be careful. Touch something metal, ground yourself. Don't touch contacts on the memory module. So here it is, right there. Okay, right there. And it's gonna go inside like this. Yeah, get it in the nest, press it in, and voila, it is in. This is how easy it is to upgrade this box to its maximum capacity. So nothing much in it. So you've got your motherboard, you've got a couple of fans back here. Here it is, a 360 or power supply. Obviously, some of the models that Synology sells, they come with a redundant power supply. So if one supply goes out, the second one immediately kicks in. Those are quite pricey, but they're awesome. I just don't have enough money to buy one of those. So, but for business, for small business, this is going to be awesome. So I highly, highly recommend, especially if you have a need for your employees or your clients or your, I don't know, friends, colleagues, project managers, superintendents, like if you're in construction like I am, and if you need guys to access files on the go where they don't have to be in front of the computer, they don't have to, you know, dial in to the server via a VPN connection. If you want that flexibility to have access to the documents on the fly, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And again, you know, not only do you have your own private storage, your private cloud, these documents are available to all the guys, and yet it's not being stored on Dropbox or Box or whatever other cloud service is out there. You can do the same thing at home. It doesn't necessarily need to be doesn't only need to be used for a business. You can have this box at home, you can put music on it, whatever files you need to access, PDF, image files. So now we are going to be installing the hard drives. What did I do with my knife? I don't know what I did with my knife. It was here somewhere. Yeah, closed for business, folks. Let's see. Oh, here's my knife. So, don't you just love opening toys like this? Check this out. Data manufacturing, January 2016. Brand spanking new. You've got to love it. Lots of junk to clean up later. January 2016, number 2. More screws and more papers. once this is up and running, it's going to be just awesome. By the way, I have a Synology set up at home that I've been using for several years now, and I'm absolutely loving having access to any files from anywhere. And especially now, like if you go out and buy an iPhone, you don't need to go for the largest capacity iPhone. You know, if music or video is your thing, you don't have to store any of that locally on an iPhone. You can simply put the media on the Synology and download a couple of apps on your iPhone, and all of a sudden you have access to all of your music, to all of your images, to all of your videos on the fly, anywhere you go. Granted, if you're not near a Wi-Fi point, you're gonna need to be mindful of data usage. But otherwise, if you're on Wi-Fi, or if you have quite a bit of data usage, and even just for convenience, if you're not you know, watching high-def videos off of your server, you're not going to be using a lot of data. So to install these drives, again, it's pretty simple. Take one of these bad boys out. This tray comes with these little side rails, I guess, and this is a completely toolless installation. I don't remember which way it goes. Check. I think it should go like this. So the drive goes in like this, no screws, nothing. Just kind of goes in like so. The back of the drive, where the connectors are, obviously, you know, just so that when it goes in, there's a way to plug it in. So there's that. And then these little side trails is what's going to hold your drive in place. Okay? See? Secure. And so then all you do is you put it in, push it in, and lock it in. That's as easy of a thing as easy it could be, getting the hard drives installed. I'm going to be setting up this server to run the BTRFS. It's the new modern file management system that provides additional fault tolerances for your data and metadata backing up, as well as snapshots and versioning and all kinds of goodies that you will be able to do with your documents. So like I said, extremely useful for business if you have documents that you constantly create, modify, revise, as that happens in construction. You know, drawings get revised, proposals get revised, pricing gets changed. And if, for example, you need to reference an earlier document, with a regular system, you would just, I don't know, end up deleting or I don't know how you would manage it. But with this, the system can do all of it automatically for you. All you do is you just set some things up from the control panel in the settings, and everything is happening behind the curtains, so to speak. Okay, in, locked, last two. Also, another tip I want to give you. I have been using a program to, so at home I have two Synology servers, and what I have there is I'm using a program called Always Sync. Alway, ALWAY Sync. I think if you Google it, you'll find it immediately. That takes the data. The software is extremely robust. Takes the data, copies it to both of my Synology servers. That way, I always have a backup. Always. And it's a really nice, like I said, robust, very stable piece of software. If I was to tell you over its lifetime how much time that software had saved me by not having to manually track down files that I need to back up or revisions of files that I've made. First of all, I would never remember. I just don't have that mental capacity, number one. Number two, the immense amount of time that it would take to manually manage backup would just be totally insane. But Always Sync is an amazing, amazing program to use to back up data files between either Synology servers or your main server and Synology, or your PC and Synology. So we've just, oh man, it became so much heavier versus when I first took it out of the box. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lock these up, since I don't want any accidental bumping. And the only thing left to do is plug it into the switch, and find it on the network and install the disk management system, and that is what we're going to do next. So let's get going. So here it is. I have moved the Synology server to our generally called server room, and it is time to fire it up. I got it plugged into a backup battery, and the Synology is plugged into a switch. You can't see it, but that's where it's going, and we are turning it on. Okay, off we go. So the Synology is firing up. It is going through its internal setup, and now we will move over to my computer, find the IP address for this device, and proceed to installing the disk management operating system onto this Synology server. So to install a disk management, we're going to go to a website, find.synology.com. And the Synology web assistant will launch. Start searching for the disk station, and it's going to look something like this. Okay, so it had found, literally within just a few seconds, it has identified my model number, DS1515 plus, shows me the IP address, the MAC address, and everything else. So we're going to go ahead and connect to the disk station and begin the process of actually setting it up. Failed to connect to the disk station. Please check the network settings of your disk station and try again. Okay, that wasn't fun. Let's try this again. I must say I have connected the Synology before several times, and I have yet for it to go flawlessly. There always seems to be some kind of an error message, so I might need to go ahead and download the assist. let's see, support, download center. We have a 5-bay Tide 1515, and what we want is the Synology Assistant. Download the file for Windows. Let's see if we have better luck connecting to the Synology using the Synology Assistant program. Welcome. Okay. That was interesting. It wouldn't do it through a web page, but it went just fine. Okay, install the latest DSM for new features and security fixes. So, and then it gives you an option to manually install the Disk Station Manager. I'm going to go ahead and let it install automatically. All data on the hard disks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be removed during installation. Are you sure you want to proceed? Yes. I understand that all data on these disks will be removed. Okay. And thus begins the process of installing an operating system called Disk Station Manager onto the Synology server. Fairly straightforward, minus the fact that I have never had luck connecting to a Synology on the first try, ever. It would always give me some kind of a hiccup, but do not dismay. Once it is set up, and you saw how easy it was to overcome this minute nuisance, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Once it gets going, once it's set up, it is absolutely robust. I am not going through all the settings of setting up the users. This will not be part of this video. I will just show the very initial setup. I will show you the control panel, what you would be seeing and working with and accessing. Again, once I have it set up here in the office, I can log in into the Synology Disk Station from home, and my interface, because it is all web-based, web browser-based, my interface will look exactly the same as if I'm sitting in the office browsing documents on the server. One other thing too, in Windows and in Mac, consequently, you will be able to map the server to your desktop, much like I have my server mapped, and it will give you a file explorer just like this one. You'll be able to copy and move files just like as if you were working inside of your computer. Okay, so the software had finished downloading, and now the disk station is being restarted as the operating system is getting installed and the server goes through its initial setup. So now we're going to go with creating an administrator account. Server name, I like to give it something easy. Username is admin. The password, I give strong passwords. Share the network location of your disk station with Synology to help you easily reach your disk station on the local network. That's fine. Go to next, and the account is being created. Unfortunately, Google Chrome is telling me that the page is being unresponsive. Let's see if this would still go through. So again, something didn't go through the first time. The web page crashed, so I just closed the tab, tried it again, and now I'm welcomed at the congratulations screen. I hadn't done anything different than I did the first time. So go figure, minor glitches. Okay, moving on. Install the latest DSM version automatically. Installation schedule. blah blah blah. Install the important updates of DSM automatically. Sure. Let's do manually. Hit next. And now we're going to create a Quick Connect ID. This is the ID that you will use to log in from your iPads, iPhones, tablets, anywhere you have web access. Whatever you create as your Quick Connect is what you will use. So I'm going to go ahead and create something here, but obviously I'm not going to show it to you. So I have created and set up the Quick Connect, and now everything is getting registered and loaded. That email address is already in use. Let's try something else. Okay, I went ahead and used a different email address, and the next screen is showing you the Quick Connect ID, which you can drag to your desktop if you want to for quick access later on. All that is a web browser shortcut. So click next. You're all set. Send anonymous statistics to Synology. I always do. I want to help developers. And this is it. This is your interface. Okay, now we are going to set up our RAID. We are going to set up the disks. Volume selection is very simple. Create. I choose quick mode since I don't care about setting up RAID 5, 6, 1, JOBD or any of those things. Not in this setting. In the office I want to set up a Synology hybrid, which in my opinion is superior to RAID 5 and RAID 6 systems. Mind you, there is no hardware, there is no controller. This is a software based RAID configuration, RAID management. Out of 5 disks that are in my Synology, I'm going to uncheck disk number 5 as I intend to set it up as a hot spare later. I am going to erase all the data. There is no data. And this is the screen where I get to select whether I want a protection of up to 1 disk having failed and my data still being saved, or if I want to have up to 2 disks fail and still have my data saved. Obviously, with the 2-disk fault tolerance, you are sacrificing the capacity. In my particular case, that is okay, and that is what I want to do. I want the maximum safety possible. The file system I'm going to, obviously, with a more modern BTRFS file system, which gives me additional security checkpoints. The way it processes data, constantly checks the data, creates multiple metadata little text files. Just a ton of stuff happening with this more modern file system. ext4 is still an excellent file management system, but BTRF is superior, and it is available to me, and why not? I'm just going to use it. Description, I don't really care. And so here's a summary. I'm using 4 out of 5 disks, my file system that I created, and the capacity that I get. Had I chosen the fault tolerance of only 1 disk, my capacity would have been around 15 terabytes. So I do sacrifice the capacity for the sake of gaining extra safety net, if you will, for my data. The reason I'm doing this in this particular setting is this is a setup for work, and I need to be sure I set up a system as robust as possible. I cannot afford any downtime. That is precisely the reason why not only am I setting this up as a 2-disk fault tolerance protection, but also I am going to be setting up a spare disk. So as soon as, let's say, one of the disks fails, Synology automatically will grab my hot spare. It will give me a notification saying, hey, one of your disks had gone bad. I don't need to panic at that moment because I already have a spare disk inside. Synology will take over, it will rebuild the data, and I can order the disk, from Amazon or Newegg or wherever. I can wait for the disk to get here, I can pop it in, dedicate it as the new hot spare while my data is rebuilt. Now, while in the process of data rebuilding, let's say, God forbid, a second disk fails, I am still okay because I now have the protection of 2 disks failure. That's why I said it's important to me, and that's how I'm setting it up. So you might want to do the same if this is important to you. Also, in addition to sacrificing some capacity of the overall volume, you are also sacrificing a little bit of performance, since there is a lot of data transmission that takes place. The read and write happens 24/7 non-stop. So that's actually also one of the reasons why you want to be sure to purchase NAS specific hard drives for Synology and not just any hard drives off the shelf. Check with Synology's website to cross-reference the compatibility to make sure you put the right stuff in, something that Synology deems tested and guaranteed to work. So now that our volume is created and the background is verifying hard disks parity consistency, it's going to take a long time, several hours to complete. You can see at which rate this progress is moving. In the meanwhile, I'm going to dedicate the 5th disk as my hot spare, and all I do is I go to Manage, and then I select the available disk, I click Apply, Confirm, and this is how easy it is to create a hot spare. There really isn't anything that I need to configure additionally outside of what I just did. Okay, so when I go back to volume, I can now see that out of my 5 disks, 4 are being used for data and some redundancy, up to 2 disks fault tolerance, and a 1 disk sitting by itself simply as a hot spare. It even tells you that right here in the status. So that is all. You could also add SSD disks to speed up, but that is rarely applicable unless you're running a large enterprise with a ton of small read and writes. Then an SSD cache is beneficial, but in an office setting, a home setting, it isn't really necessary. So this is it. This is how we create the volume and create a hot spare. So in an office setting, you might want to create some users and give them permissions to certain folders and restrict them from being able to access certain other folders. For example, let's say you have a controller whom you want to give access to the sensitive financial company data, banking information, profits, proposals, whatever. You can differentiate between different people who is going to have what access. And so again, to do that, you go to the control panel, you select user, and here you can create some users and give them different permissions on what they can and cannot access on this server. So quite a great flexibility for you to be able to give access to data to those people that need to have access, restrict people from certain data, and just go whichever way to your heart's content. Very flexible. Same thing if you're in a home setting. Let's say you have a folder dedicated for kids' homework and you only want your child or your children only accessing that folder. Again, you can set them up as a user, dedicate them to that folder that you create on the volume. And so even though the child is accessing your Synology server, they're only accessing a folder or folders that were dedicated and allowed and permitted for them to access. Everything else is hands off. So quite a useful feature. So I've just created my first user. Prior to creating the user, I went ahead and I created a shared folder on the server, created the user. The user is going to be assigned to the default group of users with the inherent permissions. And here's the folder that I had created on this server. And now I can have the user that I just created give access, either read-only, read and write, or no access at all. So for this particular user, I'm giving a read and write permission in this folder, and I'm not imposing any additional limits, quotas on this user. I am allowing the desktop file station, the FTP, to this user. And no, not imposing any speed limit settings because I don't care. Click next, and here you go. This user has now been added to the server with his own password and his own access. And this is how easy it is to add a user. So one other thing I will show you, if you are working with your Synology at home or in your office and you don't want to work through the web browser, you simply want to go through just being able to move the files between the folders, you just find the IP address of your Synology. If you don't know how, ask me and I will tell you. And then from there, just use the run command, open that IP address. You will be presented with a window to enter your credentials before the system will let you in. Remember my credentials, and there you are. You can then simply drag this to your desktop, give it a name, DS1515 plus, and that's it. I can easily access any future folders that I will create by just simply clicking on this link. You only need to enter the password once. And so from there on out, just transfer files, folders, whatever. Create your hierarchy, etc., etc. Super easy.